Hello, everybody. This is Storm, Commissioner of the SADL, back with our Week 9 standings breakdown and look at the playoff picture. This is I guess I would say, the most important standings breakdown of the year because this is the last standings breakdown basically before playoffs start. Week 10, I'll upload an individual standings breakdown or I'll incorporate it to my Week 10 game reviews. Basically, just to look at the final standings and who all made playoffs. But obviously, like the only information that gathers from that is just the end of the season. This one actually contains the information needed to understand going into Week 9 what playoffs are looking like. So this is probably the most important standings breakdown of the season. Uh, with that being said, we'll just look into it real quick. Basically, we're going to go through all the playoff scenarios or most of the playoff scenarios, at least to the best of my knowledge, as well as talk about some seeding stuff as well. And so we're going to start at the very top. We also, as you can see, we've had a third team clinch the playoffs, the New York Munchlax. Last week, we're winning in for the playoffs. They won that match on top of getting some favorable losses as well, and actually end up with the highest differential in the league. Now, this is very important. This high differential means a lot because going into this week, myself, the Baltimore Bullet Punches, play the New York Munchlax. That game will have a direct impact on both of our seeding. If I win, there's a good chance I get the first seed. Now, I have to win the match, and I have to have a better differential than the Dewey Duwats. Um, I already have a 4 differential lead on them, so that does give me a lot of play. But that will secure me the first seed, win plus differential. Really and truthfully, if I end up anywhere with like a +3, I think I'm guaranteed playoffs. Plus three differential win will guarantee me playoffs. First seed. Sorry, not playoffs. I'm already secured. Will secure me the first seed. 100%. I cannot not get the first seed with a +3 win. The Dewey Duwats will need me to lose and also will need to win to get themselves the first seed. So they need the New York Munchlax to beat me and get the first seed to win. In that instance, I will have the third seed because if I lose to the New York Munchlax, I will 100% have a worse differential than them, as well as them having the head-to-head over me. So a loss will put me in the third seed. A win could potentially give me the first seed. New York Munchlax with a win can end up in the first seed. The Dewey Duwats with a win will end up in the first seed if I lose. And the New York Munchlax, the only way they can get the first seed is obviously by beating me, but also getting the Dewey Duwats to lose. So if the Dewey Duwats lose and they get a win, they will get the first seed. So there's a lot of potential. All three teams in the top 3 can get the first seed this week. So it's going to be exciting to see coming down who gets that first seed, who gets that second seed. First seed is very important because basically the way the playoffs are working, it's a 6 seed, 3 seed plays 6, 4 seed plays 5th, and then the winners of that, the first seed will get to select their opponent. So it gives you a lot of power. Not only do you get a bye week, but you also have the chance to pick your opponent going into the second round of the playoffs. So you can pick a favorable matchup. You can pick whoever you think might be the worst team remaining, whatever, basically going into that your second round game. So it's very important. Obviously, getting one of 2 seeds is obviously really nice. It is possible for me to get the second seed, but that would require me to lose and the Dewey Duwats to lose and me end up with a better differential. I think that's probably the most unlikely chance. I think more than likely I'll probably end up in the third seed. But we'll see how that goes. As far the rest of our teams, I guess I'm going to start from top to bottom, looking at the playoff scenarios for every team. So the Safari Rhyhorns currently sit at the 4th seed. It is impossible for them to. I guess I should say this: these teams are obviously all locked for the top 3 seeds. It's virtually impossible the Safari Rhyhorns. Yeah, actually, completely impossible the Safari Rhyhorns to move out of the 4th seed. So all 3 of these teams are locked in the top 3 seeds. It's just a battle for the seeding next week. The Safari Rhyhorns, though, currently set at the 4th seed, 6-3, 1 game ahead of everybody else in contention, 2 games ahead of these bottom two teams down here that are still in contention with a +6 differential. They are winning in. If they win this match, they have a match against the Anchorage Bearticks, which means this is the second week in a row the Anchorage Bearticks are in a very pivotal match. But if they win against the Anchorage Bearticks, they are win and in. Guaranteed playoffs. They will be guaranteed the 4th seed with a win and in, obviously. So if they lose, in the event that they lose, it will give the Anchorage Bearticks potential to lock in the 4th or the 5th seed. That'll generate another 6. They'll generate 2 6 and 4 teams if the Safari Rhyhorns lose. That means there will be another seed open. There are 2 other teams with 5 and 4 records, the House of Mouse and the Washington Wishmakers. Those teams are going to be in the best position to get that 5th slot. If both of those, or that 6th slot, sorry. If both of those teams lose, the Safari Rhyhorns are guaranteed a playoff spot. 100% guaranteed. Now, if one of them wins, they would also be if one of them wins and the other one loses, they're also guaranteed a playoff spot, but it doesn't guarantee them the 4th or 5th seed. They could possibly go as low as the 6th seed if one of those teams wins. So, in the scenario that all of these teams right here, this group of 4 teams, end with a 6 and 4 record, which would require the Safari Rhyhorns to lose, Washington Wishmakers and House of Mouse to both come away with wins. In that scenario, it all comes down to differential and head-to-heads. I'm not 100% sure all of the head-to-heads. I know the Washington Wishmakers have a head-to-head over both the Anchorage Bearticks and the Safari Rhyhorns. Anchorage Bearticks have a head-to-head over the House of Mouse. And I do not believe the Safari Rhyhorns and Anchorage Bearticks have played, nor have the House of Mouse and Safari Rhyhorns. I'll have to double-check that. I will let I'll either let the coaches know if you're watching this. I'll either ask me and I'll tell you. I don't have that information on hand right now. I'd have to look at the schedule. I do know those are some of the head-to-heads going in. So if all of these teams end up 6 and 4, it is a differential race. Basically, is what it's going to come down to. So with that being said, but Safari Rhyhorns are winning in. These teams are not winning in. However, though, any of the 5 and 4 teams, if they win and another one of the 5 and 4 teams lose, then they should be guaranteed playoffs. So, for example, the House of Mouth and Washington Wishmakers in particular, being 5 and 4 and not being in a head-to-head matchup. So, say the Safari Rhyhorns win 7 and 3, lock in that 4th seed. Then this House of Mouse and the Washington Wishmakers are essentially winning in for the most part, right? Yes, yeah, correctly. Sorry, I'm trying to think it in my head. So Safari Rhyhorns get 7 and 3. Say the House of Mouse wins 6 and 4. Anchorage Bearticks are 5 and 5. That guarantees the House of Mouse. So House of Mouse and Washington Wishmakers are actually winning in with a Safari Rhyhorns win. If the Safari Rhyhorns lose and they win, they are not guaranteed winning in because then it would be a 3-way tie for the remaining seeds. Or actually be a 4-way tie for the remaining 3 seeds, which I just talked about when I said all the teams are 6 and 4. So really, it's going to come down to a differential race if all these teams win. Now, the thing that gets hairy is when one of the 5 and 4 teams lose, or if several of the 5 and 4 teams lose, because then that opens the space for the Chicago Taurus and the Minnesota Glow Kings. So the Minnesota Glow Kings would need to have 2 of the 5 and 4 teams lose this week, right? If two of the 5 and 4 teams win, that completely locks any 5 and 5 team out of the playoffs, or 5 and 5 team next week. Any team that's 4 and 5 this week, or any of the 5 and 4 teams that lose next week, we will lock them out of the playoffs. So the Minnesota Glow Kings need 2 5 and 4 teams to lose, and they need to have better differential than those teams. Basically, that's what's going to come down to it, because if the 6th seed is open, or the 5th and 6th seed, hypothetically, in a world where the Anchorage Bearticks, the House of Mouse, and Washington Wishmakers all lose, then it's going to become down to differential. The Chicago Toros by far have the most difficult paths. Obviously, they need to win this week. All the 5 and 4 teams need the 4 and 5 teams. Sorry, I keep getting mixed up with the records. The 4 and 5 teams need to win. They 100% need to win. These teams do not need to win. Win will help them, but they do not need to win because if other teams lose, then it comes down to differential and tiebreakers. These teams need to win. 100% Minnesota Glow Kings, Chicago Tourists need to win this week. Minnesota Glow Kings having a pretty good differential are in a pretty good spot. They need to win. They need 2 of the 5 and 4 teams to lose, and they need to have a better differential. Not bad. They have a +2 differential, which is actually better than the Washington Wishmakers, who are a game above them but have a worse overall differential. The Chicago Toros, however, though, had the most difficult path. The reason why is that a 6-0 victory from them and a 6-0 loss from the House of Mouse will put them below them because that's how far down their differential is. So they cannot rank higher than the House of Mouse ever. So that completely locks them out of the 5th seed. They are vying for a 6th seed spot, which would uh, basically require the Minnesota Glow Kings to lose by minimum -5. Require the Washington Wishmakers to lose by minimum -2. The Anchorage Bearticks need to get 6-0'd. And you need to have either the head-to-head or a better strength of schedule than all 3 of these teams if those losses happen. It is very improbable. It's insane. Like I don't even know. I'd have to like plug it into like some AI to figure out the percentage. It's an insanely small percentage chance for that to happen. That is their key into the playoffs, and it is going to be very hard for them. They need these teams to lose. They need them to lose very badly, and they need all the chips to fall in the right place to give them a chance at making the playoffs. It is a very tough path to the Chicago Toros, but they technically are not eliminated yet. They need teams to lose. They need them to lose badly. And so the Minnesota Glow Kings are in a slightly better position. Win and 2 5 and 4 teams to lose, which is not impossible at all. We have some very good matches coming up. Obviously, the Anchorage Bearticks Safari Rhyhorns. That's a very heated match. It holds a lot of weight. I believe the House of Mouse is playing the King City Kingdras. Yeah, the House of Mouse are playing the King City Kingdras. Phil has been he's been substituting for the King City Kingdras. He's been playing a spoiler streak. He has beaten 2 teams who are in playoff contention and is on his way to play a 3rd team in playoff contention. So that's a very, very hot match as well that holds a lot of weight. And both of those matches end up not in favor of these 5 and 4 teams. The Minnesota Glow Kings absolutely have a really good chance with a victory. So it's going to get spicy because really and truthfully, these 4 teams are all in like very, very weird positions for the playoffs. I mean, like if you was hard for you to understand what I was trying to mention earlier, I apologize because it really is that confusing. Because they need it's just a lot of connection. You know, if they win, they're in a good chance. But if they all win, then it's a tie. Well, if they lose and then they all lose, then it's also a tiebreaker, and it becomes very, very complicated. Um, so the only teams who are eliminated by a loss are these 2 teams. The only teams that are winning in are the Safari Rhyhorns. Um, for some teams, like I said, the Safari Rhyhorns are winning in. That's a very clear path to the playoffs. The House of Mouse aren't even winning in because they need the Safari Rhyhorns to win as well because the Safari Rhyhorns lose and it generates um, weird differentials, they could potentially be out. I will say the House of Mouse, though, because of the Washington Wishmakers having a -1 differential, which is very, very low for a team that has a 5 and 4 record. As you can see, it's one of the lowest differentials in this playoff group besides the Chicago Toros. I will say that gives the House of Mouse a very good chance because even if they do win and the Safari Rhyhorns lose, it's very likely the Washington Wishmakers can't encroach on their spot. And so I will say the House of Mouse actually might be in the best position considering a win status for them. Because obviously Safari Rhyhorns win and they win, they're guaranteed. If the Safari Rhyhorns win and they win, they're more than likely going to make the playoffs. That's actually a good position to be in for them personally as far as controlling their own destiny, because even though they don't control their destiny, they're in a better spot to control their destiny than some other teams. So it's very interesting to see. It'll be a very tight race. It'll be a very close playoff race. I'm excited for it. If I seemed a little if I was talking confusingly and just kind of wasn't making a lot of sense, I do apologize. I was trying to my best way to explain it in words while also doing the math in my head because it's like I said, it's close. It's convoluted almost the way it works for some teams. Um, so hopefully I explain it the best way I can. Really and truthfully, for the teams who are still in playoff contention, you just need to be winning at the end of the day. You just need to be winning. Winning is going to put you in the best spot to make the playoffs 100% of the time. Uh, Good luck to all my teams in the playoffs still. Um, I'm really excited to see what comes of it. Uh, Obviously, I think next season we'll wind up expanding the playoffs to 8 seeds, depending on the amount of teams we have. If we still remain in that 14 team range like we currently have next season, I know the Anchorage Bearticks, Wumple said he would not be able to make it next season due to personal matters, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's a job opportunity that he's taking. Um, obviously he's not going to be able to compete, so that obviously puts us down a peg, but more than likely we'll have both Phil and Brady returning next year, next season. They both seem pretty amped to return, so that'll obviously open up our coaching chances as well. Maybe even new coaches added in to this division as well. We'll see how that works out. I have big plans for the playoffs next. Not for the playoffs. I have big plans for the next season. I want to expand the league. I want to try different things. I want to introduce maybe a new meta game, and we'll talk all about that as the season wraps up. Obviously, there is one more thing, my coaches. If you're still listening, I really hope you are. I want to talk about. It's just something simple, but because we're talking about the standings and everything this week. Um, I used a site to create the standing or the schedule. Sorry, I keep getting my words mixed up. Create the schedule for this season. Yeah, just put in all the teams' names and it printed out a season. Schedule, seasonal schedule, whatever you call it. And anyways, in doing that, I realized that the site used a specific pattern for creating the schedule. So, for example, every team would was generally playing a team that a previous team followed. And what I mean by that, so for example, with me personally, my team, the Baltimore Bullet Punches, I was linked to the Cerulean Guardians. Every time the Cerulean Guardians would play somebody, I would play that team the following week. That's how it was. The only time that wasn't true was week one, because obviously nobody played that week. Week one, I had a completely random opponent, and every week after that, I played the team that the Cerulean Guardians played. Don't know why that's why that site did it. I wish it was more randomized. For another example, is the New York Munchlax were linked to me. The New York Munchlax would play every team that I played. Every single week, they'd play the following team. That's how that site did it. If coaches next season, if you don't like that, let me know. I'll either find another site that does it better, or I'll make my own schedule. Either way, let me know, because I thought that was really weird and it didn't really mess with things, but like some coaches basically just were guaranteed not to play each other, and it kind of messed with the way like the scheduling was. I feel like some teams ended up with really, really hard schedules, and some teams ended up with very, very easy schedules. You can see that by the strength of schedule. Like all the top teams, obviously the thing with the top teams is that they don't play themselves. So essentially the teams with the best records, they don't play. The Baltimore Bullet, the Baltimore Bullet Punches, the Dewey Duwats didn't play each other this season at all. The New York Munchlax and the Dewey Duwats did not play each other. So right there, you have one of the top teams in the league didn't play two of the other top teams. The I keep referring to myself third person. I didn't play the New York Munchlax until this week, and obviously that means I didn't play them. But once again, you're in a situation where you're 1 week left in the season and your top three teams haven't even played each other, and a lot of these other teams have played each other. Obviously not all of them, but a lot of them have, and a lot of these teams have also played us. And that's I feel like just the way that the season worked, because it basically would guarantee that some teams wouldn't play other teams because they were following another team's schedule essentially. So let me know either in the server or in the comments of the video. if you want me to use a different system for scheduling next week or next season. Sorry. Or if you want me to use that one and you just don't care, let me know. Please do. With that being said, I'm going to flip right over to the kill leaders real quick at the end of the video, just so you guys can keep up with that. I'm probably going to post the kill leaders at the actual form um, in the server sometime next week, so that way you guys can look at it. Voting is coming up at the end of this end of next week. After we finish week 10, I will release the voting for the end of season awards, and that'll all be very exciting. I'm very excited for that. Actually, I want to see what you guys think. What you guys think were the best teams remaining, or the best Pokemon? Sorry, not teams. Best Pokemon in the league. I want to see what you guys think about that. Obviously, I think I had fun this season. I hope a lot of you guys had fun. I know a lot of you guys are telling me that y'all learned a lot, that y'all felt like y'all improved, and I love that because this is what the league is about. It's the SADL. It's the Showdown Amateur Draft League. It is designed for people who have never played draft before. This was my first season playing draft, and I know I'm like a psychopath for creating my own league to play draft, but it's what I wanted to do because I wanted to play against other people who are like me, who never played draft before. And I think it turned out great. Obviously, next season we're going to improve on things, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm very hyped for it, and I hope you guys had a great season. I know some of y'all have said that y'all had it, y'all were amazed, y'all were amazed, had great seasons, couldn't wait for next season, so I'm great. I'm good to hear that, is basically what I'm trying to say, and I love that. I appreciate you guys. So we'll look at the kill leaders real quick, though. A bit shaped up this season, this week. Um, just scroll kind of slowly through so everybody can see, because now we have the kill leader. The kill leaders have shaped up a little bit. The New York Munchlax have two Pokemon on the list. Dewey Duwats have two. Baltimore Bullet Punches have two. Um, then we see. Oh wait, no. Dewey Duwats have three. Sorry. The House of Mouse and the Turin Trevenants also pulling up with two. Or sorry. One Pokemon apiece. Two together. One Pokemon apiece. But the New York Munchlax Chin Pao, 15 kills. Crazy, crazy high because it is very far away from most of the other Pokemon on the kills. As you can see, we have a four-way tie with 12 and a four-way tie with 11. So pretty insane that how much, Chin Pao has so many more kills than any other Pokemon. Pretty insane. Um, Obviously, the voting will determine all of my awards or all of the awards for the season. So I will put this in the server so everybody can just have access to it and see it without having to go back and watch this video. But I just figured I'd show it at the end of the video. So, anyways, a bit of a long-winded video, a video that a little confusing. Hopefully, though, my coaches in the playoffs who are in playoff contention were able to understand it and know what they have to do. Like I said, at the end of the day, just win. That's the best way to get in the playoffs. When you get in the playoffs, just win. Don't worry about anything else. Win, get a big differential, hope it's enough. That's all you can do. Because unfortunately, a lot of teams don't control their destiny at this point. But with that being said, I'll see you guys for my Week 10 match. Uh, Everybody be safe. Good luck next week to my playoff coaches. I wish y'all all the best. I really want to see all of y'all in playoffs. Y'all all have played so well this season. Y'all have all played hard. And unfortunately, some of you won't make it. And just may the best teams win is all I can hope. Clean matches all around. I love you guys. Thank y'all for making the season great. I'm acting like this is the end of the season when we still have a few more weeks left with playoffs, but obviously, playoffs right around the corner, and the season is drawing to a close. This is the last week of the regular season, so it's very important. And like I said, I wish you all luck, and I'll see y'all later.